Hi guys, and welcome back to Fiction Food Friday. Today's recipe is from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. When Snow White was trying to win over the dwarfs, she offered to make them a gooseberry pie, which is what convinced them to let her stay in the house.
Yes, and plum pudding and gooseberry pie. Gooseberry pie! Hooray!
She also baked a gooseberry pie for Grumpy when he was being a little grump. So today we're going to make Grumpy's special gooseberry pie. So here's what you'll need. For the pie crust, you'll need 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2/3 of a cup of butter or shortening, and 6 to 8 tablespoons of ice water. And for the filling, you'll need 3 cans of green gooseberries, a 1/2 cup of sugar, a 1/4 cup of flour, a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, an 1/8 teaspoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of butter. And you'll also need a 9-inch pie dish, a pastry cutter, a rolling pin, saran wrap, foil, and parchment paper. Now to be honest, I never knew what the heck a gooseberry was and I thought it was pretend. But I did some research and they are a real thing. And there's different kinds, but Snow White used the green ones, so those are the ones that we're going to use today. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Snow White, my dear. We're going to start by preparing the pie crust, and pie crust can be tricky, so just make sure when you're mixing it together you don't overmix. So grab a bowl and combine your flour and your butter, and make sure that the butter is cold, because everything's butter when it's cold, except some things are butter when they're hot. Use your pastry cutter to cut the butter into the flour, and then add in your salt and your cold water. That's not cold! What are you doing? Mix it all together until it's in smaller chunks and it can be pressed into a nice dough. It's raw. Tastes nice dough. Sorry, that's the last one. Then divide your dough in half, wrap the halves in plastic wrap, and then refrigerate it for about an hour. Once it's chilled, take it out of the wrap and roll it between 2 pieces of parchment paper. And you want to roll it out until it's nice and thin and make sure that it's big enough for the size of your pie dish. Then take it and carefully put it right into the pie dish, pressing on the sides to make sure that it's filled in everywhere. And if you have any holes left open, just take a little piece of pie crust and squish it on top. Then all of the pie dough that you have hanging around the edge, you can just cut off with a knife, or you can even use some scissors. Oh, Mirror, who did you say was the fairest? You are, Snow White. You are. Now in a bowl you want to put 1 full can of gooseberries, and then the other 2 gooseberry cans you want to drain out the juice before you pour the berries in. Then add in your flour, your salt, and your sugar. And gooseberries are very sour, they're very tart. So if you want to add more sugar, you can. Mix all of that together and then pour it in your pie crust. And take your cinnamon and sprinkle it on top. And then you want to dot the top with your 2 tablespoons of butter. And really all this means is you're taking chunks of butter and putting it all over the surface. And then finally cover the whole thing with the second half of your rolled out pie crust. Now you want to take the edges of that top pie crust and fold it underneath the bottom pie crust before we crimp it. Go all the way around the pie and make sure that our gooseberries are secured in there. Now Snow White's woodland birds helped her prepare the pie, and they even etched the slits on top and crimped the edges with their feet. So we're going to try to match that look, but with a knife. So just like Snow White's pie, we're going to put 2 sets of double slits at the top and at the bottom of the pie. Then make little bird feet crimpings on the edge. So now we'll finish with Grumpy's cursive name. So gather your leftover pie crust trimmings, and if you don't have enough, which you probably don't, you can mix a little bit of flour and butter to give you some extra dough, but don't feel like you have to do the whole entire recipe all over again. To give yourself an outline for where you're going to put the dough, use a toothpick and your reference picture and trace out Grumpy's name. Then take your extra dough, roll it out, and you're probably going to want to do this in pieces because it'll be way too hard to do it all in one long row. Just take small pieces, roll them up, and use that to trace your outline. And once the name is on, you want to take some foil and wrap it around the edge of your pie, and then bake it at 375 for about 25 minutes. After 25 minutes, remove the foil, and then bake the pie again until it's nice golden brown on top, which usually takes about another 20 minutes. One last time, Mirror, could you tell me? It's Snow White! And that's it. If you haven't tried gooseberries before, you really should try this pie. It's different and it's good and it's Disney. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment down below and let me know of other fiction foods you want to see, and I will see you guys next time.